The Lord said to Moses, Hew for yourself 2 stone tablets, like the first ones, and I will inscribe upon the tablets the words that were on the first tablets which you broke. Be prepared for the morning, and in the morning you shall ascend Mount Sinai and stand before me, there on the top of the mountain. No one shall ascend with you, neither shall anyone be seen anywhere on the mountain, neither shall the sheep and the cattle graze facing that mountain. So he, Moses, hewed 2 stone tablets like the first ones, and Moses arose early in the morning and ascended Mount Sinai as the Lord had commanded him, and he took 2 stone tablets in his hand. And the Lord descended in the cloud and stood with him there, and he called out in the name of the Lord, and the Lord passed before him and proclaimed, Lord, Lord, benevolent God, who is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger and abundant in loving kindness and truth, preserving loving kindness for thousands, forgiving iniquity and rebellion and sin, yet he does not completely clear of sin. He visits the iniquity of parents on children and children's children to the 3rd and 4th generations. And Moses hastened, bowed his head to the ground, and prostrated himself, and said, If I have now found favor in your eyes, O Lord, let the Lord go now in our midst, even if they are a stiff-necked people, and you shall forgive our iniquity and our sin, and thus secure us as your possession. And he said, Behold, I will form a covenant in the presence of all your people. I will make distinctions such as have not been created upon all the earth, and among all the nations, and all the people in whose midst you are shall see the work of the Lord, how awe-inspiring it is that which I will perform with you. Keep carefully what I am commanding you today. Lo, I will drive out from before you the Amorites and the Canaanites, the Hittites and the Perizzites, the Hivites and the Jebusites. Beware lest you form a covenant with the inhabitants of the land into which you are coming, lest it become a snare in your midst. But you shall demolish their altars, shatter their monuments, and cut down their sacred trees. For you shall not prostrate yourself before another God, because the Lord, whose name is Jealous One, is a jealous God. Lest you form a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they, the Gentiles, go astray after their gods, and they offer sacrifices to their gods, and they invite you, and you eat of their slaughtering, and you take of their daughters for your sons. Then their daughters will go astray after their gods, and lead your sons astray after their gods. You shall not make molten gods for yourself. The festival of unleavened cakes you shall keep. 7 days you shall eat unleavened cakes, which I have commanded you at the appointed meeting time of the month of spring. For in the month of spring you went out of Egypt. All that opens the womb is mine, and all your livestock that bears a male by the emergence of ox or lamb, and a firstborn donkey you shall redeem with a lamb. If you do not redeem it, you shall decapitate it. Every firstborn of your sons you shall redeem. They shall not appear before me empty-handed. 6 days you may work, and on the 7th day you shall rest. In plowing and in harvest you shall rest. You shall make for yourself a festival of weeks, the first of the wheat harvest, and the festival of the ingathering, and the turning of the year. 3 times during the year shall all your males appear directly before the Master, the Lord, the God of Israel. When I drive out nations from before you, and I widen your border, no one will covet your land when you go up to appear before the Lord your God 3 times each year. You shall not slaughter or sprinkle the blood of my sacrifice with leaven, and the offering of the Passover feast shall not remain overnight until the morning. The choicest of the first of your soil you shall bring to the house of the Lord your God. You shall not cook a kid in its mother's milk. The Lord said to Moses, Inscribe these words for yourself, for according to these words I have formed a covenant with you and with Israel. He was there with the Lord for 40 days and 40 nights. He ate no bread and drank no water, and he inscribed upon the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. And it came to pass when Moses descended from Mount Sinai, The 2 tablets of the testimony were in Moses' hand when he descended from the mountain, and Moses did not know that the skin of his face had become radiant while he had spoken with him. That Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses, and behold, the skin of his face had become radiant, and they were afraid to come near him. But Moses called to them, and Aaron and all the princes of the community returned to him, and Moses would speak to them. Afterwards all the children of Israel would draw near, and he would command them everything that the Lord had spoken with him on Mount Sinai. When Moses had finished speaking with them, he placed a covering over his face. When Moses would come before the Lord to speak with him, he would remove the covering until he left. Then he would leave and speak to the children of Israel what he would be commanded. Then the children of Israel would see Moses' face, that the skin of Moses' face had become radiant, and then Moses would replace the covering over his face until he would come again to speak with him.